What kind of DA was she?
She was run-of-the-mill.
You know, Kamala Harris, she's running for the vice presidency. I call her Miss Lock Up a Brother, for when she was the AG in California, a Negro knew, a black man knew that he was dead in the water. He was dead in the water. Matter of fact, you don't need a trial. You might well go into jail if you appear before her, because she took pride in locking up black folk. And now all of a sudden she's trying to be sister girl. I'm telling you, check out her record. She locked us up left and right. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
I want to bring up too, in terms of her being tough on crime, and we're going to look at that West Bank thing should be looked into. I hear that. But when you talk about being tough on crime, she proposed a bill in 2005 that essentially would allow you to be arrested 3 times before you actually went to jail. The police chief at that time pushed back on it and says, I can't buy Heather Fong served as police chief until 2009, says proposal is ridiculous. So when she says she was tough on crime, tough on the border, it doesn't seem in many respects her record reflects that. Is that the what did you find, Judge?
That's like her being bused to school and her smoking dope in the dorm listening to Tupac. It's the fabrication. You put your finger up in there and see which way the wind's blowing, and that's what you try to do. Actually, her prosecutorial experience was an unmitigated disaster. I just interviewed a woman that was inappropriately caught up in that truancy thing for adults. A 9-year-old girl was caused to have a stroke, became paralyzed, and at 22 is still not fully recovered.
So, Judge, just tell everyone, just run out of time. Just real quick, what everyone said it was, for example, if you cut school, they were actually pressing charges on parents. That was her idea to stop truancy.
Yes, that was her idea. And she actually arrested a few parents whose children had medical issues. There was a young lady who had, I think, suffered from lupus. It's the situation that the judge here is describing. I mean, everything about this lady, it's not real. California schools were not segregated, so there was no need for busing. She grew up listening to Tupac while she was in college, when he would have been in middle school and wasn't even on the West Coast. If I'm not mistaken, he was on the East Coast, maybe in Baltimore or in New York somewhere. I mean, everything about this lady is a lie. Angela Wright asked her, hey, what's the best rapper alive? Tupac. It seems like that's the only rapper she knows. I mean, it is insane. And the fact that they keep letting this lady get away with it is just crazy. No one will call her out on it. But then again, they're shielding her. They're keeping her, you know, from speaking to the American people. Because if she actually is forced to speak to us, off the cuff, just answer questions from the press, from the people, we'll all find out. Everybody will find out that she isn't who she says she is.
Except in this case, the woman wasn't involved in that. The child was suffering from acute complications from sickle cell disease hospital. But Kamala Harris sicked some press on the woman to wait outside her home while she was expecting assistance, and it turned out to be an arrest. And the girl was caused to have a stroke. You know, this kind of thing is bad, and that's not what a prosecutor is supposed to be, because the prosecutor is supposed to deliver justice.
Joe Brown telling the truth. Joe Brown been talking cash money bullshit, and nobody's put a gag order on him. Nobody's hit him with a cease and desist, and nobody's threatening him with defamation, which means only one thing: he ain't lying. So if he's not lying about her, why do we want her to be president? All they're going to do is use everything about her against us. She's too busy f***ing everyone in the cabinet to run your country. That'll be the first thing they say. They'll attack her sexuality. Well, who do you got over there, Montel? Like,
that 1994 crime bill, it did contribute to mass incarceration in our country.
Bobby Rush, member of Congress, said the other day, I'm ashamed that I voted for the 94 crime bill. You ashamed of that bill?
Not at all. In fact, I drafted the bill. Remember?
I know that.
There are 2 basic steps here. One step is you must take back the streets.
And you take back the streets by more cops, more prisons, more physical protection for the people. We must take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my son. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must take it off the street. Unless you do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I give myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now, not out of a liberal instinct for love, brother, and humanity, although I think that's a good instinct, but for simple, pragmatic reasons. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. Beyond the pale. And it's a sad commentary on society. We have no choice but to take them out of society. And the truth is, we don't very well know how to rehabilitate them at that point. That's the sad truth. I'm the guy that said, rehabilitation, when it occurs, we don't understand it and notice it. And even when we notice it and we know it occurs, we don't know why. So you cannot make rehabilitation a condition for release. That's why in our system, there's the federal system, you serve 85% of your time. We must make the streets safer. I don't care why someone is a malefactor in society. I don't care why someone is antisocial. I don't care.
Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana.
And I inhaled. I did inhale.
She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.